people don't represent us. Speaking about the coalition,
Right.
which is quite ironic because anytime you stand up against this system, against this injustice, they always seem to find some other black African American to stand up and oppose you for opposing them, which is definitely the slave syndrome. But what would you say the next steps for up and coming leadership, which we know that our goal and our objectives is not to clash with our people.
Right.
Our goal and objectives is for freedom, justice, and equality for all our people.
Right.
However, there are some who don't think that we have literally the right or the legitimacy to speak in a way that it represents more than ourselves as an individual, whether that may be an organization or, like you said, Rico, a clique within your own constituents. How do we drive the point home that the times is dictating a different action?
Let me tackle that a little bit, because one thing, the reason why you have like these so-called token black leaders stepping up and pointing to the coalition, saying that the coalition does not speak for us, part of their financial security is having the facade that they are the black leadership. So when the white power structures goes to them, they're the go-to people. So they have to keep that facade alive. So they have to attack they have to attack the real voice of the people. And so that's one thing that we need to do. We need to speak up louder. We need to know. We need to let the city, state, nation know that the coalition represents the real leadership. This is the real leadership of the people, real voice of the people. The power structure has done this since Marcus Garvey. I remember growing up listening to the debates between, how they pitted Martin Luther King against Malcolm X, or they'll go grab James Baldwin or some other Negro, moderate, softer speaking Negro to debate Malcolm X or something like that.
Boys against Booker T.
Right. So they've done this since forever, right? So in educating all of our brothers, especially the up-and-coming leadership, we have to educate them that this is a tactic that they use, and you need to be prepared for it. You need to know what's coming for you, and it's going to come. So you have to educate the up-and-coming leadership about the tactics that this system uses against our people, and also the new leadership, the new Community Leadership Foundation. The very name that we chose is because we are the new leadership. We chose that name because of the old leadership being so fake and phony. And that goes to the point that the new up and coming leadership and ourselves, we need to, vehemently attack the sellouts. It's like it's time to stick their feet to the fire, because the white power structure needs to understand that these people no longer represents the voice of the people. And if you keep going to them, you're going to get no results. Right now, what they're doing with Reverend Amos and some of these other so-called leaders, I hear they're supposed to be bringing out Sharpton through here or something like that. I don't, know how accurate that is, but still, they're trying to bring somebody to do a song and dance, placate the people long enough so they could get away with murder. And they've done it time and time again. And the thing is, this is a tactic. So once we recognize that this is a tactic, we no longer go for it. At first you got to recognize what the tactic is, and then you got to counteract the tactic. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to sit and strategize as like how are we going to counteract these tactics that they use, because technically we all are familiar with them by now.
And I think to counteract that, I think we have to really just get out of that slave syndrome. Like it's time. Like as new leadership, we have to start thinking more strategically in our thought process in how we go about doing everything. Everything has to be planned out. It has to be a 100% plan. Yeah, no one really want to go and confront their people in a manner to where it's disrespectful or even compromising who they are as an individual, right? Most times our spirit is more into we just not gonna say nothing, or let's not go there with it, right? When in reality, the real thing is we need to think strategically. How do we set a meeting with these people? How do we continue to hold fast to the coalition, right? Justice for Mario Woods, and then once we get justice with that, how do the coalition stay a coalition? When you said with Al Sharpton, if he come here, if it ain't gone through the coalition, we need to be protesting that. You see what I'm saying? So in having that same type of spirit, if we can protest the mayor, we can protest the police department. What more for those who are evil, who are our people?
Right. We got to protest our own.
What's the difference of 5 cops in blue, which a couple of those cops were black? So it don't matter about color, right? So if they can shoot and kill a boy, what's the difference if it was 5 black dudes killing 1 boy? It ain't no difference. Evil is evil. Ain't no justification in evil, right? So that's what our mentality have to start being like. We have to start even protesting our people. Those who don't want to jump on board, we're going to have to protest them and show them who really got the people. And yeah, it will divide the community, but eventually there'll be an uprising. See, with every fight and with every battle, right, there'll be a lot lost. Of course, it won't be no bloodshed, but there'll be a lot lost. A lot of people won't be considered the leaders. A lot of people, they're going to pick and choose sides, but eventually there'll be an uprising. Either they'll rise to the occasion, they start acting right, or they'll fall by the wayside and the new leadership will arise. In hopes that the leaders that we have down at City Hall, they should have been appointed a youthful person as a leader in the pillar of the community. They should have been said, Daniel, new representative of the Western Edition, Daniel, Eli, myself. You know what I mean? And a bunch of other people who represent our communities. Because our leaders, they've been doing this for 50 years. And half of them is on their last breath.
It's gotten worse.
That brings me, and that's an excellent put. You know, at the ceremony for Ed Lee, the inauguration, Friday, January 8th, I had the pleasure to run into former Mayor Willie Brown. And I had my protest hat on, of course, representing the Justice Memorial Woods Coalition. And as a younger brother and have watched him and even admired him, I was quite disappointed on how he responds to a real basic question that I posed to him, which is, what is your position, Willie, on this? He stepped back and he said, what are you talking about? Justice for Mario Woods is how I replied. Then he went as far as saying, what do you want me to do? You need to be talking to them. The them, I didn't understand by him pointing outward. And over to my right, I seen the other former mayor, Frank Jordan. So I know he wasn't talking about Frank Jordan, but he went as far as even saying that, you know, y'all need to deal with them, and I can't do anything about it. Now, I thought that was not only interesting, but since we're talking about black leadership, and definitely black leadership that's been in place for many years now, what type of message does that send when someone which you normally would look for guidance as senior leadership, someone that our people admire, someone that our people look up to in a person like former Mayor Willie Brown, as well as other black influential people who have been in the city for a long time? How do they expect new community leadership to respond to that? And anyone you talk about?
I mean, I know for me, the way I look at it is, you know, I'm happy I was born free, so to say. Amazing grandmother, amazing aunt, who have always taught me my culture and who has always kept my mind liberated from the powers that be. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm happy that that doesn't discourage me from continuing on with the fight. And a lot of our young people, it's a sense of hopelessness when you have leaders in position that can really make a difference. Sometimes your words can just mean so much to uplift people. Martin Luther King, the greatest things that he ever did was give great speeches to empower people. Malcolm X, some of the, Huey Newton. I mean, I can go on and on and on with people who empowered people, and really the movement started with words. You know what I mean? So, so for me, it just, that type of stuff, it empowers me to hold people like that accountable. And then how do we hold them accountable? It's through coalitions, through getting together. How do we get together? Just it's really, we can't. I know that like we doing the coalition for Mario Woods, but it has to be a holistic approach. It has to be a holistic coalition that's touching every last issue in our community, because it's building, the coalition is building momentum. And with this momentum, more and more people coming and everything. So I think that, or I'm in hopes that after justice is served, when it is served, that it doesn't just become another coalition that happened.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Keep it going.
If we can keep it going, then we can hold people accountable.
Right.
The main reason why this is continuing to happen, because we don't have no people that fight. We don't have people who fight. When there's deaths in our community, you get 4 or 5 people out protesting, saying why you ain't solved no murder, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when the police do it, we get the whole coalition. Now, how do we hold on to that coalition and say, okay, whenever something is happening in our city that's against the impoverished community, we as a coalition stand united, and we're going to go and protest it. And we're going to keep doing this for 10, 20 years.
Right.
We're going to teach our children how to do this, right? So that way that we can start making changes.
Making momentum. Yeah. Keep
How
the
many
momentum
people,
going.
how many young people you see down at the Board of Supervisors meeting?
You need to change that. You're right.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? So, and how many people do you see down there in general?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You have the same people who've been down there for years, saying the same exact thing, doing the same exact deals. Right? Nothing gonna ever change. That's why they get at us with that arrogancy. That's why they get at us with that pride, right? Because they feel like y'all ain't got no power no more. Not like when Mary Rogers was around. Not like when some of the greatest leaders that we had come out of the Western Addition was alive, because they was fighting. We don't have that fight no more. We don't have no one to. We have the fight. We do have the fight. Is there? We have to hold on to the fight, and we just got to continue to fight in every issue that's going on in our community.
So it's loosely, like we say with the coalition, a loosely configured coalition, but the goal is to, like you say, have a broad reach, so you can holistically deal with all these different issues and stuff.
All the issues, because at the end of the day, even if they, okay, so this is words that, these are things that I'm hearing, because right now the community is broken into 2 parties, right? We have the Democrat Party and we got the Republican Party in terms of black leadership. And that's just a metaphor, right?
Yes, sir.
We have those for the people, and you have those who, you have those for profit and gain, right? So when we think about it in that perspective, and we start looking at it from a different approach, right? We have those on this side saying that we want the chief fired, we want the cops brought up on murder charges, but we want them fired, or we want them off, laid off without pay. Now, and then we want you brought up independent investigation, and we want you brought up on murder. Then we got those that say the chief is an amazing guy. He's a great guy. He wasn't the one there. He's an amazing guy. He has supported, programs. He's gotten kids 7,000 jobs last year, right? And then we got people who saying all you need to do is change the policy, right? So that's 2 different viewpoints on what really needs to happen.
Hey, but let me say this though, because
backdrop that though. But wouldn't that be hypocrisy to listen to that suggested in terms of policy change when we know the facts that's on the table is that this commission had 10 to 15 years to implement policy changes.
Right.
They received over 8 reports or studies, whichever way you look at it, in a 10-year span. The Department General Orders, which the police department is a hear and obey department, which is a paramilitary structure. The DOJ, the DOG, which have not been implemented since 1995. So how could we accept them saying to us, why would they think we would accept that when they done had years to change their policies, they done had years to implement a different strategy to deal with the systemic problem of the police department, and all we have gotten from them is resistance, using new tactics, and even just totally just ignoring the black community wishes in terms of when we say we might want a community police relations board that is made up of the community, all of a sudden they go behind closed doors and then they come out with another community relations board which is not made up in particular of the community.
Right.
So,
but it goes back to what you first started off with. You got the old leadership still in the eyesight of the master, in his mindset. This is where the arrogance come from. We still got this here. We got this group here that we bought and sold. Because we bought them to be able to infiltrate the communities. Now we done sold them to the tech world. You know, so we now don't feel that, you know, you have a political system and the people in this city here who feels they don't have to have any fear about addressing the black community about anything. Because we became insignificant. You know, we're no longer necessary in that eyesight of San Francisco. This is why you have the Ed Lees who sell out to the tech world and selling out the different complexes in San Francisco, that communities where black people have been all their lives. You know, the homes, the community spirit. Black people built San Francisco. We built San Francisco. You know, and the destruction of our kids today through violence, but it's violence that's also perpetrated by the community, by the, not only just the community, but by the political community.
Right.
And they think that we'll take and we will go ahead with their suggestions because they think that we aren't educated. Right?
Well, let me segue on that.
If you don't have the credentials, as they would say, then you're not qualified to give a suggestion, right? When we really look at it, right? When we look at their the 3-point plan, sensitivity training, all the different things that they came out in the report on, things that the suggestions. And I look at it on both ways, right? Because I'm highly educated, right? We're highly educated because we use intellect, right? We use spirituality to guide us through our everyday dealings. So when I look at everything, I look at it in a different view than the average educated person because they're only looking at from what they was taught in school.
Well, they miseducated.
No, right.
So let's not confuse education with miseducation.
No, right. But that's why I said